Hello, my name is Peregrine. In the past, I've made videos going over Vendetta and how she's kind of a weak villain, and hypothesized that she's more of a stepping stone for the return of a stronger and much more principled Doomfist. However, in current Overwatch lore, it appears that she might be sticking around for a little bit longer than I'd thought, and to the credit of the writers, it does look like she's actually planning something. But whether or not that something is good, I don't know, because the hints of it are really few and far between, and so far I'm struggling to make things add up. So I've got a couple of theories to kind of go over what I think Vendetta is doing and why, but at the moment, to try and get to those theories, we have to first look at the attacks that Vendetta has performed so far. First of all, we have the attack on Gibraltar. As the main home and base of operations for Overwatch, attacking Gibraltar was kind of a no-brainer for a Talon that doesn't give a fuck about how many of their soldiers die. Now, Gibraltar is under Talon control, with likely billions of dollars worth of technology, research and weapons to sell or to use to arm their units, using this power that they gained to hire 3 C-tier organisations for 3 different other attacks. Firstly, the Deadlock Gang. The Deadlock Gang was sent to Watchpoint Grand Mesa just after the attack on Gibraltar. They attacked a weapons depot while Talon agents Emre and bounty hunter Freya quietly hit the Nortonfall, which contained the super soldier serum used in Reaper, Soldier and now Sierra. Successfully escaping with it, as the only one who stood in the way was Sierra, who was unable to beat Emre, who appears to be the most powerful character in canon at the moment, maybe only behind Sigma. They got away with the serum and is now being toyed with by Moira to create something called Project Chimera. The second organisation hired by Talon was the Hashimoto, a Japanese crime family who kidnapped Toshiro, a generational Talon in forging anima weapons, whose mechanics are still not explained. Vendetta clearly saw potential in these spirit-infused weapons, so decided to provide the Hashimoto with the firepower to control Tokyo like the Yakuza, in exchange for a quota of these weapons. Unfortunately for Vendetta, Overwatch was able to stomp out most of these weapons, rescue Toshiro, and cook Shion out of her business with Talon. However, one singular anima weapon has survived the onslaught, and we know little about it other than Shion informing Malga that it's all Vendetta really needed. What this weapon is completely unknown. I mean, one could imagine that the anima weapon is a wolf-based anima sword, but I find it somewhat hard to imagine, because I don't see Vendetta dropping the Palatine Fang anytime soon. She's a very sentimental person from what we know, and I don't think she'd drop the sword that she climbed the ranks with, but maybe I'm just wrong on that read. I think it would either be a weapon for Emre, or most likely probably Sigma, since according to voice lines and in a comic I want to say somewhere, Vendetta has said that she's about to use Sigma for something, which would probably be combined with the EMP that Talon has successfully stole from Mecha and the Korean military in Busan, in which Vendetta enlisted the help of the Junkers. Not much to say about it because my last video went a lot more in depth with it. It wasn't really that much of an event, Vendetta was just kind of there and they took it, there was not much to it. However, what was just released in the latest chapter of Overwatch Undivided revealed that Talon are in the middle of recreating and mass producing the Super Soldier Serum, which is most likely, Project Chimera, with assumedly a better success rate since it's implied that everyone except Soldier 0, 23 and 76 survived the serum and training. So whatever Vendetta is planning involves a massive amount of firepower or requires some considerable firepower in different places at once. One would assume the target would be to wipe out Overwatch, as they're realistically the only thing that stands in the way of Talon, with an attack on Gothenburg maybe, as revenge for the killing of her father. However, there are other options. She could just be stocking up to keep doing what she's doing and keep destabilising, spreading Overwatch thin worldwide and waiting for them to fuck up like they almost did in Fiji, where Beaker, of all characters, had to save Brig and Tracer. Yeah, suddenly the cat in the jetpack seems a lot less stupid when she just saved your life. Other options include the concept of taking and overthrowing a government by forming her own state, a la Marshall Teach and Hachinosu, or probably the most frightening of all, which is the thing that I'm kind of like and don't like at the same time, is attacking the UN with the EMP and Sigma to prove that Overwatch and Helix are both incompetent peacekeeping forces and seeking to legitimize Talon as a defense or security contractor for the UN, bringing billions into the company and being able to commit whatever crimes she likes scot-free with immunity from the law. This kind of reflects real life, where real life defense contractor Boeing murdered 2 whistleblowers, John Barnett and Joshua Dean, in cold blood, and no one could do anything about it. Out of everything, this option of overthrowing Helix as the security default of the UN is probably the most dangerous. Not only does it bend over and fuck my last video about the conspiracy, it also makes the reintroduction of Doomfist incredibly difficult, which makes it more likely that Vendetta will remain a key villain for the franchise, which I really don't want her to. However, though, this does open up some pretty good storytelling opportunities. If Talon gets legitimized and becomes the good guys, like in the media, then the perspective of the people and the government would change to make Overwatch more like vigilantes whose work aren't appreciated, but they do it anyway, regardless of how they're seen. And that's kind of a noble goal, and it's an interesting, like, anti-hero kind of story, because right now they are just strictly heroes, and it would be nice to see these incredibly positive people, like Tracer, like Juno, like the Elemental siblings, get put down a peg and be, like, pushed aside so they can really develop themselves as characters. There's a lot of good opportunities for it. I'm just not sure if that's where they're going. I'm not sure if they're going for something that complex with Vendetta's Talon, because like I said, she might just be a stepping stone for Doomfist. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you at some point in the future. I've got a video coming out about the places that I want to be explored in Overwatch, because there's a few countries that I think have potential that they're not using. And I'm going to have to get a backstock of videos going. Suggest some ideas down in the comments just in case. I need to get a backlog going because I'm going for surgery pretty soon and I'm going to be out of it for a few weeks. So I need some content. Yeah, but other than that, thank you for watching and I will see you later.